Hello, everyone, and welcome to Making Sense of It. Today, we're going to be talking about becoming optimistic and see, look at 7 different thoughts on being optimistic. And I like numerology. The 7 is a whole number, and nothing can divide it. And it looks at being complete. There's 7 oceans, 7 continents, but anyway, just that wholeness, that completeness. So the times that we're living in is kind of tough. There's war, inflation, crime, the stock market is askew with stress and debt, just to name a few. And that there are so many things over which we have absolutely no control. We have an opinion, but not control over them. But there is one thing where we can absolutely be the master. And that is what? That is with our thinking. We are totally in control of what we think. The way one thinks affects our mood, it affects our self-esteem, it affects our attitude, it affects our success, it affects our overall demeanor. And so as we're thinking, whatever it is, every once in a while, make a point to just stop and think about what you're thinking about. And what is more important, to be thinking about opinion or to be thinking about truth? To be thinking about what is more helpful? To be thinking about dogma or to be thinking about being relatable? How can I relate to this? And then also, what is more liberating? To be thinking in a judgmental and a judicial frame of mind, or to be looking at the freedom as to how we can come to, well, just looking at the freedom. And it's realizing that every day we make decisions. And once a decision has been made, if it seems to serve us well, then we store that in our brain and we use it again and again and again, and it becomes a habit. The thing of it is, do we need to stop and evaluate, reconsider that habit to see if it's still working for us or not? Because once it's formed, all too often, we don't give room for more information. And so one can always choose to challenge their thoughts and to challenge what they believe to see if it's on kind of a good solid foundation. So point 1 is to think about what you think about. When you feel discouraged, stop yourself, literally stop yourself. And I encourage you just physically turn around, just go all the way around, because our mind and our body and everything is connected together. So physically turn around as a springboard to remind yourself that you are what you're choosing to think about, or you become what you're choosing to think about. And then think such thoughts, or ask yourself such thoughts of, am I thinking about actuality, or am I thinking about fairy tales? Am I presuming that I know what someone else is thinking or what they're going to do? And then just refuse to acknowledge those defeatist thoughts. They're just not acceptable. And also knowing that a peaceful attitude, an upbeat attitude, paves the way to creativity and to peaceful solutions. And that we always get more of what we focus on. So point 2 is to remain hopeful. Always have that hope inside. And so here, roses actually do have thorns. Not only do we need to remain hopeful, as in wearing gloves whenever you're taking care of a rose, but be careful while enjoying the beauty of them and while enjoying the fragrance of those roses. And so in the process of looking at things from a more hopeful point of view, be aware of the fact that those thorns on the rose are very legitimate. And so those things that are a little askew, but do not allow those possibilities to sabotage our potential enlightenment, as in some ways that we can overcome that, because what we focus on is where we It's the results that shows up in our life. Point number 3 is to turn negatives into positives. Be an optimist by ignoring the ugly things that seem to be facts. It is looking at reality that makes the choice legitimate. It is what it is. So what? Now what? And the most important thing is, what are you going to do next, even if it wasn't so positive to start with? In looking at, is the glass half full or half empty? The thing of it is, it's rather than judging that, it's what do you need it to be? If you need it to be empty, then devise a way to pour it out. If you need it to be full, then again, devise a way to make it more fillable, because we always get what we focus on. Point number 4 is to practice being pragmatic, to acknowledge the thoughts and deliberately dismiss those that we know deep down in our wisdom heart that it's not that effective. So look deep inside to find the root of our emotions and consciously replace that emotion with the greater truth of potential. The simple practice is profoundly spiritual and it's life-changing, to just that we can change our attitude right in the middle of being really discouraged, because you always get more of what you focus on. Well, point number 5 is to acceptance. To accept something is a very viable option. A bright outlook on life is as simple as accepting what is. Now, I'm not saying that it isn't very difficult, that someone isn't sick, that the house didn't burn, but you have to focus on what is and what's the next step and how we're going to handle it in a way that is not going to cause sickness and frustration and terrifying anger on us. It may help to realize that acceptance does not mean approval. I accept the fact that this has happened, doesn't mean I approve. I accept the fact that this person has whatever type of addiction. It doesn't mean that you approve of it. But as we can accept the fact that they're still a human being of infinite worth and value, as we can accept another person, ourselves included, in the midst of all of our human flaws, we can bring both a resolution and a surprising sense of eternal hope, because acceptance of a difficult situation is a very wonderful mark of maturity. So be thankful for what you do have, or become disgruntled with what you don't have. Be thankful for what you do have. And it's like the weighing and the measuring. Once we focus on what we do have and are thankful for that, what we don't have has a tendency to fill that gap, because appreciation is a wonderful, just being appreciative. Point number 6 is be buoyant. Buoyant. I mean, here's the water, here's the waves, but we can rise above it. Intervene in your own negativity. Be aware of the fact. Think about what you think about and be aware of what you're thinking about. And so if it's really a disgruntled thought for yourself or for others, begin to have a little bit more buoyancy. Everyone does have good qualities within them. And arise above those difficulties with pragmatic confidence and down-to-earth resilience. Deliberately control your thoughts so that you can positively influence the outcome. And then point number 7, and I'm going to share the screen with you on this. Point number 7 is the Serenity Prayer, which was written by Richard Nyberg. And there's three threes here that I want you to look at. Here it is. Okay. In the Serenity Prayer, it has 3 words to start off with that I have given a deeper definition to. It starts off by praying God and looking at that as just reaching out to something that you're haven't reached out to before. And I find personally that God is a universal word that is used either for blessing or for cursing. But just to begin to focus in on, so I need some help here and I don't know who to go to. So anyway, it starts out with God, grant me the serenity to accept. So I put those three words and I broke them down to look at it and make it maybe have more weight to it. Grant me, allow me, permit me, award me, or gift me. We're just asking for life in general to gift me with what? With serenity. And what is serenity? It's peace, it's poise, it's composure, and it's a little coolness. You know, you can have your hip there with that serenity. And then what? I'm wanting to be gifted with the serenity of peace. Why? So that I may accept all these difficulties of life and make them more buoyant, more pragmatic, more real, more honest, so that I can accept. And what does it mean to accept? Remember, I've already looked at the fact that acceptance doesn't mean approval. It doesn't mean that you're doing like Wendell and giving a round of applause. Yeah, let's keep this going. Acceptance means that you're willing to receive it. Oh, wow, this hurts. It hurts tremendously. I had something happen yesterday that, oh, wow, the answer that I got back to a question was no. And it really hurt. I mean, tears just welled up. So help me to accept those things, to receive those things, to admit, to agree, to consent to. So there's the three: the grant, the serenity, the acceptance. And then there's another trilogy there: to grant, to accept, agree, and consent to the things I cannot change. Oh, no, that axiom, we cannot change another person. We can't control them. Help me to receive that, to consent to it, that I cannot change. But then courage to change the things I can, or at least to speak up, giving a little other slant to the things that, you know, I can't change them, but I can have the courage to speak up. And then also to have the wisdom to know the difference in what I can and what I can't do. And then the prayer ends up with living one day at a time, enjoying this one moment right here, enjoying this moment, one moment at a time, and accepting hardship as a pathway to peace. Now, is that powerful? And I'm telling you, this can help you to move light years ahead. So here is a portion of it. It's not the whole thing. And if you would like the whole, because it is absolutely beautiful, the whole entire thing. If you would like it, send me an email and I'll send you the complete serenity prayer. But God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace. And as we accept that hardship, that difficulty as a pathway to peace, the thing of it is we begin to look at things with a little brighter hue to it, rather than seeing it as so dark and discouraging. So I hope this made sense to you, and I appreciate your being here, and many blessings to all.